All right. Welcome back, everybody. It is currently 3:21 p.m. Central Time, Sunday, February 22nd. Uh, it's not often that we do a podcast on the weekend, but I felt like today called for it because, as you can tell by my attire, the United States men's hockey team has won the gold medal for the first time in 46 years, almost to the day. In fact, February 22nd, birth of George Washington. The miracle on ice took place on February 22nd, 1980, and now the U.S. men's hockey team wins gold for the first time since 1980. So, what a day! Let's talk about the game. I mean, I can go on and on about the tournament, but I'll save that for later. The game itself, like I don't claim to be the biggest hockey fan. It's a sport that I've really grown to like in the last almost 10 years, like since 2017 was really when I started getting into the NHL. And I remember watching the Olympics in 2018 when there weren't NHL players, and then I didn't watch in 2022. But when they announced that NHL players were coming back in 26, I was very excited. I got into the Four Nations face off last year, and then I've been looking forward to this, ever since. And today, I felt I was listening to a Canadian, Steve, what's his name? Steve Dangle on YouTube, and he summed it up perfectly. This Today's game goes to Herb Brooks's speech in Miracle. If we played them 10 times, they might win 9, but not this game, not tonight. If you play this game 10 times with this exact, situation, uh, every time, the Canadians will win 9 out of 10 times. Let me pull up the stats here. I should have done that earlier. Now, in no way am I comparing the 1980 Soviet team to this Canadian team, but just that quote resonates in this game. Let me pull up the box score. So, and US wins 2-1, and in the game, what is the deal with technology today? It is so slow. All right, let me go to the Canada side. All right, so see, now I'm all screwed up. Oh my gosh, I'm so sick of technology today. iPad's not working right. Laptop can't be isn't really working right. How hard is it to get a freaking box score? This is great for the podcast. Lord have mercy. I had to click on it 3 times. So, now I've lost my train of thought because technology sucks today. Uh, but I thought, like I said, Steve Dangle made a good point on his show where he said, you know, play the what happened in this game 10 times, Canada wins 9 times. And this was the one time where the US won the game. And I don't want a scoring summary. I want the box score. I mean, Canada had I don't understand ESPN why it won't get me totals on the shots. I'll do it blind. Fuck it, we'll do it live as uh whoever said that, Bill O'Reilly. Uh I believe Canada outshot the US 42-28, and the US won 2-1. Like that shouldn't happen, especially against a team like Canada that had quite possibly the best collection of forwards that we've seen in the Olympics ever. Definitely in quite some time. Connor McDavid, best player in the world. Uh, Nathan McKinnon, top 2 or 3 best player in the world. Macklin Celebrini on the up and up. Like he's the next guy in line. He's only I think 19 years old. He's next up in terms of we're talking best player of the world conversation. Mitch Marner. Now they didn't have Sidney Crosby today, but Brad Marchand. Like they were loaded with guys. Nick Suzuki, another guy, really good player. And then defensively, they had Kale McCarr, the best defenseman in the game. Now, defensemen aren't really goal scorers, but they had the best guy. And they had 42 shots on net, and Connor Hellebuck let one through. Just That shouldn't happen. If you had told me before the game that Canada would have 42 shots on goal, I would say, yikes. That probably means the US loses 4-2, 4-1, 5-3. I don't, maybe not three, but 5-2. Like, it was a weird game. And, for the most part, I thought the US played really well early. Like, I thought it was a good first period by the US. Obviously, they had a 1-0 lead, but the shots on goal were pretty even. I felt like it was, a pretty good start to the game for the US. And I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. And then around the midpoint of the second period to really the end of regulation, maybe the last 5 minutes of regulation, it felt like it was Canada's game. Like I was resigned in the like once we reached about the 10-minute mark of the third period, I was resigned to the fact that the US was going to lose this game. Just that whole second period, they outshot the US, I think 19-8 shots on goal in the second period. And when they scored, like I didn't even like I just kind of shrugged. I was like, that was bound to happen with the way they were shooting the puck. And then just the rest of the way, they kept going at the net. Hellebuck kept stopping them. The blue line, the US's blue line kept, making it difficult for them. So huge credit to Hellebuck and Werenski and Quinn Hughes and Slavin and all those other guys that we have on our team. But yeah, it just and then at one point, I think it was in the third period, Canada had a 5-on-3. Like I was like, "Oh shit, we're in trouble now." Just you're talking about like your four or five best goal scorers all on the power play at the same time, and we have three defensemen to stop them. Just an incredible job. This game really should not have. This should not have been the outcome of the game. Just, but to Steve Dangle's point on this podcast, I thought he made a really good note, and I was thinking it during, after the game was over. I was like, this is why we love sports is when it's a one game scenario. In a series, it's different. In a series, the better team typically wins, most of the time. 7, 8 times out of 10, the better team in the series is going to win unless they go cold or the other team is just insanely hot. In any sport, the better team's going to win in a series. But in a one game scenario, a one game playoff, anything can happen. That's why March Madness is so special. That's why football is so special. And in these Olympics, it's not a series, it's a one game playoff. And the US made the plays. Like you can say what you want. I've already seen Canadian fans and even some of their players chirping about how we were the better team. You didn't make the plays. You had 42 shots on goal. You didn't get one in. Your one goal, which that's something else. Your one goal scored in the game was by Cale Makar, a defenseman. Granted, best defenseman in the world, but like I said earlier, defensemen aren't really goal scorers. They're there to set up the offense and obviously stop the puck, but they kind of sort of move the puck around and try to find some space offensively, and then it's up to the forwards to score. If you told me before the game that we would hold Canada to one goal and the one goal scorer for Canada would be Cale Makar, I would have been like, "You're insane. There's no way that's happening." And it happened. This is why sports are special. And then the two, I mean, the overtime goal by Jack Hughes, who by the way has been awesome all tournament. The overtime goal by Jack Hughes shouldn't be a huge surprise. He had played well all tournament. One of the more promising young American players that they have. But like, if you told me, but uh, Boldy, I almost said Bodie. Boldy would be their goal scorer, in regulation. How like I would have said, man, we must have just had a hard time offensively. And we did in the second and third period. We really couldn't get anything going until around that 5 minute mark where we got a 4 minute power play. And then it felt like the momentum started to shift back to the Americans a little bit. But yeah, like I said, I was resigned to the fact that America wasn't winning this game in the third period. I was like, well, they put up a good fight. I just don't think it's going to happen. Just too many things. They're not doing enough. Like I kept thinking they're not doing enough. I figured one of Canada's guys would find the back of the net eventually. And I had another thought. No, I've lost it. Um, shoot. um, anyway, Heck of a game. I When overtime happened, I felt like overtime was a kind of a breath of fresh air for America because we just weren't getting anything done 5-on-5. Canada was far better in 5-on-5 scenarios, but special teams are why America won this game. They were 100% on the penalty kill all tournament and in this game. And then you get to 3-on-3 hockey. It's basically a coin flip. And I remember saying to a friend when I got to 3-on-3, not much of a hockey fan, and I said, if it gets it to 3-on-3, that's really good. It's going to help Canada more because they got the better offensive players, but it's also going to benefit us quite a bit because we just can't get anything going. 3-on-3 opens everything up. More passing lanes, more room just for creativity and spacing, and that's exactly what happened. Jack Hughes, hero. I mean, Connor Hellebuck's the real hero. Stopping 41 shots against Canada's offense is absurd. It's stupid. It should never have happened. Should have been MVP of the tournament. It went to Connor McDavid. I like Connor McDavid. I think he's a really good player. Should not have been MVP of this tournament. If he was MVP of the tournament, Canada would have won. Like, I don't know. That's the IOC for you. Um, but Hellebuck was amazing. Jack Hughes, I said on my Instagram story, like George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Jack Hughes. Like that's how I'm gonna remember him from now on. And hell of a job by him. How cool is it that the U.S. won, and we have two sets of brothers on the team? That it's got to be so special for them. Having a brother myself, like I think that would be really cool to win something special like that with your brother. Um, yeah, I haven't been this jacked up about a hockey game in a long time. And I'm a huge fan. I actually have it on while I'm recording this, the movie Miracle. And I wasn't alive in 1980, but it holds a special place in a lot of Americans' hearts just because like that team embodied what it meant to be America. They beat the communists. They beat the Russians, who were basically pros. I mean, at the time, you had to play amateurs, and on paper, the Russians were amateurs, but they weren't. They were pros. Um, so I don't want to go comparing the two instances. 1980 is better. Let's not get too crazy, but this is special. This is a big moment for the U.S. and USA hockey. Um, I don't know what else to say. I'm amped. I'm excited. Uh, and it's so fitting that it's on the same day as the Miracle on Ice, February 22nd, and George Washington's birthday. It's perfect. Um, and it's just one of those games. It's why you love sports. I know I've said that quite a few times. It's why you love sports. Uh, just that one sliver of chance. Like, not that the US had no shot in this game. They absolutely did. But like you win some and you lose some. You win games you shouldn't have won and you lose games you should have won. I know that better than a lot of people. I played on a high school football team that played in 3 state championships, and the 2 that we lost, we should have won, and the one game that we won, we had no business winning. So, but that's sports. Like sometimes you're the better team and it doesn't show up on the scoreboard, and that's Canada right now. They were the better team. But the US made the plays when that counted. They made the play. Boldy made the play early in the game. Jack Hughes made the play in overtime. And then they survived the second and third period. But how many shots did Canada have in those second and third periods that like should have easily? Nathan McKinnon had one, and he wants to go off chirping after the game about how we were the better team. I'm like, dude, you had a wide open goal in the third period, I think, to take the lead, and like you whiffed. And I'm not trying to sit here and say that you know that he choked. I don't like that. I don't like saying that. Sports is about rising to the occasion and sometimes falling to the occasion. Sometimes you rise to it, sometimes you don't. It's life, it's sports. It's why sports are so special. When you rise to it, soak it in, you might not get it again. You don't rise to it, do what it takes, remember it and do what it takes to get better. And they're Canadians are frustrated. I get it. I would be too if I was them because you had the game won. Like you did everything you could have to want to win. That's hockey though. Sometimes you get goalied, and Connor Hellebuck goalied you today. I mean, it was hard to it was hard to get past him. And I still can't believe that the U.S. held all their forwards scoreless. Like that's just an incredible job by those guys. I couldn't be prouder of this team. And I've said probably all I could about the game itself. It was wild. I mean, like I said, it felt like the game was getting away from them in that second and third period, and they locked in, changed the narrative, rebounded in overtime. What a goal by Jack Hughes. I saw a video of the side by side of the final like 10 seconds of the Miracle on Ice and then that play in overtime. It was fantastic. I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to compare the two moments, but it was so cool to see that. But as for this team itself, or as for the tournament itself, like I really hope the NHL does not ban its players again from competing in the Olympics. I think it's stupid. While I understand it, like you want to keep your guys healthy, I get it, but it's stupid. Your goal as the commissioner of a sport should be to grow your game. And what better way to grow your game on the international level than having your best go out there and play for their countries? And it's what these guys want to do. Like hockey players are so patriotic, not just Americans, Canadians, the Czechs, the Russians, the Swedes, the Finns, like they all want to suit up and play for their countries. It's why I love hockey so much. Um, but this tournament was so much fun. The U.S. Just speaking from a U.S. perspective, I watched just about every second of their games. And I know I said a couple weeks ago on the podcast that you know if you can watch this team because I think we got a shot to win a gold, and we did. Um, I felt good about this team. And it's easy to feel good when Russia's not there. Sweden and Finland are pretty damn good, but like the U.S. should win those games. Um, and you can't sleep on the Czechs or the Swiss or the Germans really, but uh, or even Slovakia. But this team, it felt like they got better every game. The first game not great, like they kind of struggled a bit with Latvia until the third period. They wore them down, similar to Denmark. And then once the Germany game happened, I thought that was their best game in preliminary play. Then they go to the quarterfinals, and I saw we had to play the winner of Sweden and was it Latvia? I don't remember. And I was like, gosh, I hate drawing Sweden in the quarterfinals just because you never know. Sweden, top 4 hockey country in the country, maybe 5. And I just hated drawing them in the quarterfinals. We hadn't really been consistent in the preliminary, and I hated it, and it was a really close game. And the other Hughes brother, Quinn, was the hero in overtime of that game. That was a huge moment. And then they played Slovakia, and that game really wasn't close from the start. They dominated, and I didn't expect them to dominate as big as they did. I thought they'd win 4-1, 3-0, something like that, and they won 6-2, and it was 6-0 at one point. Like when that happened, and after Canada had struggled against the Czechs and who they played, Finland. Uh, I was like, man, I don't. And maybe I'm just a homer. Maybe I was looking too much into that Slovakia game, but I was like, man, I think we might be catching this team at the right time because it feels like we're getting better and their offense has kind of dried up. One thing I will say with America is this team, you just got contributions from everybody. They weren't relying on Austin Matthews or Jack Eichel or the Kachuk brothers. Like everybody had a part. Everyone had a moment. Like Brady Kachuk had his moment, and he was basically the de facto captain of the team, even though he didn't have a letter on his chest. Go watch he's mic'd up during the gold medal game, and he's saying like, "Stay confident. We are not losing this game." And I loved watching this team. I'm all over the place today. I loved watching this team. They were so fun to watch. I don't want to get too. I don't want to make it seem like I'm acting here, but I genuinely love watching this team. And then like you get the reactions from the Hughes brothers and their overtime goals, Quinn Hughes and Jack Hughes both saying, "I love this country." And I was like, "Hell yeah, man. We need that. We need that attitude. It's okay to love America." And I love America. And we shouldn't apologize for being Americans. We shouldn't apologize for winning. Certainly, just because Canada's complaining about how they didn't win this game, I'm not going to apologize for it. I don't really want to hear it. I don't care that Sidney Crosby didn't play. Although, it would have been nice to have beat him too. But I'm not going to apologize. America won. You didn't. Take your silver and shut up. No offense. Some of them have been cool. Like Steve Dangle has been cool. Taking it on the chin, been like, you know what? Sometimes this happens, and they're correct. But man, this feels good. I remember. I can even remember watching the 2002 team. I didn't watch a ton of that game because I was what 9, about to be 10. But I can remember watching some of the game. I can remember kind of the jerseys that the Americans wore, and I remember like the game really wasn't close against Canada. Um, and I didn't really watch in '06, but 2010 I did watch. I remember watching the gold medal game with my dad. I remember the Zach Parise goal, and I was like, "Holy shit, we might win this game." And then Sidney Crosby rips our hearts out in overtime, which you know was just an incredible moment just for hockey in general, and just a really fun. The Zach Parise goal I'll never forget because it felt like we were winning that game and ended up blowing it. Not blowing it, but losing it in overtime. And then 2014, I remember watching. I remember watching that game. Or did I watch that game? I don't think I did because I think that took place. Where was 2014 in Russia? I think that game was probably on a Friday morning. Yeah, because I remember being on West Virginia's campus while that was playing and like getting updates on my phone, maybe even finding a feed on my laptop to watch it. But again, like another situation where it's really close in Canada. If I remember correctly, I think had a late goal in that one in regulation to win 1-0. Um, and then you have the Four Nations last year goes to overtime. Connor McDavid rips our hearts out in a game that really didn't matter. Like the Four Nations didn't matter, but this team was able to rally the country to watch them. Like heck yeah, let's watch these guys. They seem fun to watch, and they were. And I couldn't be prouder of what they did in this tournament. They were so much fun to watch. Um, I'm excited about the future of USA hockey. There were, if they had lost this game, a lot of people would have pointed to them not playing or not having Jason Robertson on the team or Cole Caulfield. But they'll get their shot in 4 years because I don't expect Brock Nelson to be on this team in 4 years, assuming the NHL doesn't do anything stupid and not let their best play in the Olympics. Let them play. Like this was so much fun to watch. I loved watching. I mean, even the Canadian team, like that was so much fun to watch them dominate in preliminary. Now, like I said, I think their offense kind of dried up. They used it all in that in preliminary where they beat who they beat. I don't even remember. I know they beat France like 10-1 or something, and a couple other teams like 6-1 and 5-0. Um, but I couldn't be prouder right now to be an American and being a hockey fan and an American hockey fan. Um, I woke up early in the morning to watch this team, and uh, I ended up texting when Hughes made the game-winning goal, which, by the way, I didn't see go in the net. I didn't see the puck live. I was standing up watching my TV, like my arm, like this, standing up watching the TV, and I saw him shoot, but I didn't see the puck go in. And I remember just like hunching over and being like, and as I hunched forward, I saw the reactions of the players and like the Canadian players just standing there and the US like skating. And I heard the guy said, "It's gold for the United States," or whatever. And Kenny Albert. And I was like, "Wait, what? He made that?" And I screamed and I wore this hat. I threw it. I was so excited. Um, I love cheering on America. And that was, yeah. I know I've said the same thing over and over again, but what a moment. It even got James to watch hockey. James it really isn't much of a hockey fan. And we've been texting about it all day about how much fun it was to watch this team. And yeah, it's good for the country. It's good for USA hockey. I'm very excited about the future. Yeah, and credit to the USA hockey front office, whatever you want to call them, whoever puts uh, the team together, just shows how much I know. But this has been a long time coming, in my opinion. Once you hear about the story of what they've done in the last few years, from like the under 20 level, the World Juniors, like the U.S. has been very competitive at that level. Won the World Championship, I think 3 of the last 5 years. It might not be that many, but they've won like 3 or 4 times since 2017. And I was listening to Ryan, is it Whitfield at Barstool Spit and Chicklets, say how the U.S. was never competitive at the World Junior level, and they've been able to do so. Like they've done a great job finding the young talent in the country, bringing them to Michigan, having them all play together, and then therefore being competitive at the international level. And I think you're seeing that. I think you saw that in this Olympics. Some of those guys were on those teams. Like I know Tage Thompson was. Hughes might have been, but you're seeing some of these guys come up, and now they're on the national team, and they made an impact. Tage Thompson made an impact. Jack Hughes was phenomenal in the tournament. Both Hughes brothers were phenomenal. Um, but I loved the one thing I will say about the Americans I felt like the Canadians were a little too reliant on the um, McKinnon, and Celebrini line. It felt like that line was doing most of the damage. Now, to be fair, like when that line is hot, you don't really want to mess with it because those are two of the best three goal scorers in the world. And Celebrini, like I said earlier, is on the up and coming. Like he's going to be next in line to be one of the best goal scorers in the world. But I will say for the Americans, I was trying to get to this point earlier and I lost track of it. But we were getting contributions from a lot of guys. That it wasn't just Austin Matthews, it wasn't just Jack Eichel. It was Brock Nelson, it was the Hughes brothers, it was Tage Thompson, it was Brady Kachuk was huge for them. Gensel was relatively quiet, but I do think he scored a goal against Denmark. I could be wrong. And Austin Matthews was good in this tournament. Like he's the guy that we really needed to step up. Now, he wasn't terrific against Canada. He passed up a golden opportunity, and I think in the first period. Um, I think he wants that one back. But defensively, he was really good. Um, and we don't get there probably without him. I mean, he scored 3 goals in 5 games, 6 games. That's pretty good, man. Like I'll take that every day from one of your top players. Uh, and then Eichel, kind of quiet too. I only remember him scoring once. He might have had another one. Um, but I felt like this team got contributions from top to bottom, and I felt who was it? I don't remember his name. It was on the What Chaos podcast, and he said this was not an individual effort by the Americans; it was a team of 20. And I totally agree with that. Now, if you were going to argue for an individual effort, you could probably argue for Connor Hellebuck, who I think had a goal, a GAA of 1.18 and save percentage of 95. Like incredible job by him in the net. Um, yeah, just what a moment, what a team. I had so much fun watching this team. I hope the rest of the country did too. Um, you're not going to get this moment probably for a while. I mean, as much as I think we're heading in the right direction in hockey, which we've never really been bad in hockey, but this is Canada's sport for a reason. Like we're not really supposed to win this game, and we did, and it feels great. I think this team was special, and I'm glad we can finally have something to hang our hat on. We don't always have to keep going back to 1980. As special as that team was, and how, you know, pardon my pun, but miraculous of a run that was in 1980. It feels good to have something to hang our hat on, where it didn't take a miracle to win. I mean, it kind of did, but they're not going to be saying, "Oh, the miracle of 2026." Nope, this team was ass kickers. They were full of ass kickers. Yeah, they won a game they probably shouldn't for the gold medal, but that's sports. It's sports. You're gonna have moments where you probably shouldn't have won and you did. I've said that a few times already in this podcast. And even the 1980 guys really wanted this team to win. I think they're tired of the U.S. Saying like haven't won a gold since 1980. I think these guys, the 1980 guys, were like, okay, it's time for someone else to carry this mantle. And um, we remember guys on that team like Jim Craig and Jack O'Callahan, Mark Johnson, even Michael Ruzioni scored the game-winning goal. And even, a guy like Ken Morrow and Mike Ramsey, who really weren't the stars of that team, went on to have great NHL careers later on. But, now we can say Jack Hughes, Connor Hellebuck, uh, Austin Matthews, Brady Tkachuk, like all those guys have now been immortalized. And it's Charlie McAvoy, another one who I thought played well. So really, really good stuff. I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud of these guys. Yeah. Oh, and shout out to the women, by the way. And how weird that they win in almost the identical way. Now the roles were kind of reversed, but in the women's gold medal game, by the way, this is the first time that a men's hockey team and a women's hockey team, a U.S. men's and women's hockey team, both have won gold in the same Olympics. I think that's really cool. But the women were down 1-0 to Canada and had to pull the goalie in the third period, and Captain Hillary Knight scored. I watched that game too. Now, I didn't pay attention as closely to the women's hockey team as I did the men. Call me a sexist, but I just didn't. I mean, I paid attention, but I didn't really watch them until the gold medal game. And they tied it up with under, I think it was 2 minutes left, maybe around right at 2 minutes. Just incredible moment. And then it goes to overtime. Now, granted, it was 3-on-3 for both men's and women's. I've heard a lot of complaints for that. I don't really want to hear it because, for Canada, for the men, you didn't have a problem with 3-on-3 in your other tournament games. Like the Czechs took you to overtime and you won. You didn't have a problem with 3-on-3 then. Just spare me the self-righteousness. Oh, there should be 5-on-5. I don't disagree with you, but spare me that argument. You didn't have a problem with it in the quarterfinals. You just weren't the better. Like you were the better team, but you didn't make the plays. That's what it is. You take it on the chin and you say tip of the cap and say, you know what? Credit to you guys. You did what it took to win. That's all I want from you Canadians. That's what Americans would do. You know what? You were better than us. Canadians are like, oh, should have been 3-on-3. Nathan MacKinnon, shut up. I respect you, but shut up. I'm tired of your whining. Anyway, shout out to the women. Even the game in the third period against Canada, right before the end of regulation, won in overtime. Hell of a goal by, was it Megan Keller? I think was her name. And then same with the men, except they went up 1-0, held on, won in overtime. What a moment for both teams. Yeah. Just a great showing in general from I would say a great showing in general from the Americans in this Olympics. I know that, they're not going to finish with the most medals total, but I think this is the best. I think I saw this is the most gold medals that we've had at a Winter Olympics ever. And that was before the men won today. I think we have 11, and then today made 12. So I'm pretty proud of that. I know some people might argue that we should win the medal count no matter what. I hear you. I don't necessarily disagree, but we're not a winter weather country. Like that's why I don't have really a problem. I know Russia didn't compete in these games, but if we lose to Russia, I'm not really going to be mad, depending on the sport. But or I'm not going to be mad about losing to Scandinavian countries. I'm not going to be mad about losing to Canada, or Russia, or those countries, because they have winter all the time. Basically, we don't. We're a warm weather country. Yeah, we have pockets of cold, but it's primarily the Northeast, the Midwest, and the Rocky Mountains. That's kind of it. We're a warm weather country, and that's why we dominate the summer games. But I'm really proud of the athletes in these Olympics. I thought we had a really good showing. And then, yeah, top it off with the U.S. men's hockey team winning gold for the first time since 1980. Just an incredible moment. I can't say it enough. Incredible moment. I loved watching this team. Yeah, I'm gonna be looking for a way to rewatch that game because it was a lot of fun. I'm gonna rewatch that Jack Hughes goal for a long time. I'm probably gonna get some memorabilia to remember this team. Yeah, I mean, it was a pleasure watching them, and makes me excited for 2030. Uh, a lot of these guys are going to be on the team again, and I think we're going to have a chance to go for gold again. We'll see. Long way to go. Long way to go. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Uh, what a day. What a moment. Soak it in, Americans. Soak it in. Um, and everyone have a good week.